Hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Let's just make sure I've got everything working the way it's supposed to. Looks like we do. Fantastic. Okay, well, hi, everyone. I am Crista Cowan. I am the corporate genealogist at Ancestry. And 2 weeks ago, I celebrated my 21st anniversary with the company. So I've been a genealogist for longer than that, but I have been here at Ancestry since 2004. And I've held several different jobs at the company. And so I thought today I would hop on live, and I am live on, I think, 6 different channels. So Instagram, my Instagram account, my YouTube account, my Facebook account, but then also RootsTech. So RootsTech, Facebook, and it looks like maybe even YouTube. So that's exciting. I'm thrilled to be here. Ancestry is a platinum sponsor of RootsTech. And if you haven't yet registered for the conference, that's going to be the first thing I'm going to ask you to do today. If you can come in person, that would be amazing. March 6th through the 8th in Salt Lake City, I will be there. Ancestry will be there, and we're really excited about the things we have planned for the conference. If you can only attend virtually, please still sign up for that. Would love to have you attend virtually. There's going to be lots of really great streaming classes, including, again, some from yours truly during the conference, particularly on Thursday of the conference. So that is kind of like the sneak peek into what Ancestry is doing at RootsTech. I'll share a little bit more with you as we go along today. We're going to spend about a half an hour together. Now, I took over the RootsTech Instagram account earlier today and have posted there and on my own Instagram. And one of the questions that I asked was if you could ask any one question about Ancestry, what would it be? And I'm going to put the same question to you here that are watching live. I can see your comments coming through in the chat. So if you've got those questions, I would love to hear them. But I'm going to start with a couple of questions from my Instagram story, and I'll answer those, and then I'll answer some of these live questions. Okay, so like I mentioned, I've worked here at Ancestry for 21 years now. My first job in the company was content acquisition, which meant I was on the team that was responsible for identifying what historical records exist in the world and then negotiating with those archives and libraries to get access to those records so that we could digitize them and post them online at Ancestry. Ancestry now has more than 60 billion records from 88 countries around the world. We add an average of about 5 million records a day to the site. So the collection is just constantly growing, which is really exciting. I was in that particular role here at Ancestry for about 2.5 years. And then I switched to a different part of the content organization, and I was responsible for indexing. I was the indexing manager. Indexing is what happens when digital images of records have to have the information off of them keyed so that they can become searchable. Indexes created that make those records searchable. So acquisition, digitization or imaging, indexing, and then publishing. That's kind of the content pipeline here at Ancestry. I was in that role for a couple of years. Then I went into a business development role for a couple of years. But since 2011, I have been the corporate genealogist. Now, that is a job title I completely made up, and they just let me keep it. But whenever anybody asks, what does a corporate genealogist do? My response is always this. I am primarily responsible for internal and external family history education at Ancestry. That means all new employees, regardless of what they've been hired to do here at Ancestry, if they're hired to be a computer programmer or a project manager or a lawyer or the receptionist or any marketing role or content role at the company, they get to spend 2 hours with me on their first 2 days of employment learning about how to do family history. We get them started building their family tree. I give them homework where they have to go talk to family members and get information from them. And that is just really one of my favorite parts of my job. I also have the opportunity to help direct external education at Ancestry. So that includes Ancestry's participation in RootsTech. And as we look forward to RootsTech this year, I am so excited not only to be presenting classes myself, but also for the colleagues that I have that are coming and presenting. So I will be presenting on Thursday of RootsTech on the main stage, a streamed presentation called What's New at Ancestry. I do this every year, and it's kind of a little state of the company address so that you can hear about what we've accomplished over the course of the last year and get a sneak peek into what's coming in the months ahead. So really excited about that and the opportunity to present that. Now, there is a big announcement coming from Ancestry about some new product features. And so in addition to the presentation that I will be doing, 2 of my colleagues will be giving presentations wrapped up in some stories around their own family history and using these new product features. So Nika Smith will be talking about her research into what she calls the Trask 250 individuals who were enslaved by a man with the last name of Trask, and how she has managed to trace the descendants of those enslaved people down to a group of living cousins that she's connected with. My colleague Lisa Elzy will be teaching a class about her grandfather's bombardier group in World War II. So really excited about her presentation. And as a matter of fact, I literally was just at her desk where she has been making some amazing finds that just keep adding to this story. I'm not sure how she or Nika are going to fit their presentations into a full hour. I think it could expand, but that's all they've given us. One of my progenealogist colleagues will be teaching some additional classes about searching on Ancestry and keeping your family history organized. And so you'll want to check those out as well. Now, in addition to that, Ancestry will be in the exhibit hall. We've got a big booth right as you walk in those main doors, and you're going to want to visit us. We're going to have genealogists there. We're going to have product managers there. We're going to have progenealogists there. We're going to be selling DNA kits. We're going to have computers set up so that you can sit down and ask us questions about how to use different things on the site, or places that you might be stuck in your research that we can just give you a little nudge along your way. So that is planned for the exhibit hall. And again, I will be spending quite a bit of time in there. Super excited to be able to see you there. And then the last really big thing that we have planned for RootsTech this year from Ancestry is every year at Ancestry, I do a daily wrap-up on the Ancestry Facebook page. So Thursday, Friday, and Saturday of the RootsTech conference at 5:45 p.m. Mountain Time on the Ancestry Facebook page. So whether you're attending in person or virtually, I would encourage you to follow the Ancestry Facebook page so that you can get alerted to those daily wrap-ups. I'll be on the lookout every day for the best classes, the things people are learning, what's happening in the exhibit hall, and I will share those with you in that daily wrap-up. So that's what we've got planned for RootsTech from Ancestry. Once again, if you're just joining us, I am the corporate genealogist at Ancestry, and so we're going to spend the next 20 minutes or so answering whatever questions you have about Ancestry, whatever you've always wanted to know about Ancestry. Maybe it's something about our record collection, or how our subscriptions work, or something about the company and the history, I'm happy to answer as many of those as I can. So the first question that came in on Instagram is from Regina, and she wants to know what is the best part about working for Ancestry. So obviously I've been here 21 years, so I love it a lot. If I could flip my camera around and show you out the window, I love the location. We are in Lehi, Utah, kind of up on the side of a mountain overlooking the valley and the lake, and it's a beautiful view. And they have a delicious cafe downstairs where they serve us breakfast and lunch. And all of that is amazing. But my favorite thing about working here literally is the people that I get to work with and the people that I work for. So the people that I work with, my colleagues, are some of my dearest friends, and they have, there are people here who are so passionate about family history and about making sure that we provide the best experience for our customers. We have our own family history stories. As a matter of fact, I have a podcast. You may or may not know that. It's called Stories That Live in Us, and you can find it on any podcast app or YouTube, or just go to storiesthatlivein.us.com. And one of my favorite things to do is to get some of my Ancestry colleagues into the podcast studio with me and to have them share their family history stories. And some of them bring me to tears, and some of them make me laugh, and some of them just fill me up with so much excitement about this work that we get to do, helping people make family history discoveries and the connections that happen because of that. The power of family history to connect people just never ceases to amaze me. So the people I work with is tied with the people I work for as my favorite thing about working here at Ancestry. And the people that I work for are you. Like, I show up here every day because I know that what family history does for the lives of our customers and our friends and all of the people who've taken a DNA test and started a family tree, I know how meaningful that is. And that just keeps me going. It inspires me every day. So Regina, thank you for that question. Okay, and let's see, we've got a couple of questions that have come in here on the chat. Several questions that I'm getting have to do with what records does Ancestry have for England? What records does Ancestry have for India? What records does Ancestry have for Pennsylvania or New York? Like, all of those questions about what records Ancestry has. So let me just share with you my favorite resource on the entire Ancestry website. It is the card catalog. I know that makes me sound super, super nerdy, and I will fully embrace that. So on Ancestry, whether you have a subscription or not, if you click on the search button in the main menu, down in that menu, you're going to find the card catalog. And anyone can do this. Again, whether you have a subscription or not, you can search the card catalog by location. So you can type in India and click search, or England and click search, or Pennsylvania, or New York, or Georgia, or whatever, Brazil. Wherever your ancestors are from, you can type in the name of that country or state, and we will show you a list of all of the databases of records that Ancestry has for that particular location. That is the fastest, easiest way to see what records are available. Now remember, I said earlier, Ancestry is adding records at a rate of about 5 million new records a day. The rate at which records are coming online just absolutely astounds me. I never cease to be just overwhelmed by that a little bit. So you'll want to check that card catalog fairly regularly. And you should know that the default sort for that catalog is by most recently added or updated databases. So the newest stuff will always be on the top of the list unless you resort that list. So that is a great way to just see, does Ancestry have what I need? How about now? How about now? You can check back regularly. That said, we've got 60 billion records from 88 countries around the world, so there's quite a lot of information there. And we're constantly working to acquire new records and to get those digitized and published online. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Okay, somebody is asking about library access. So yes, you can access Ancestry from the Family History Library in Salt Lake or from any of the family history centers around the world. So Ancestry has an agreement with Family Search whereby they give us access to some of the microfilmed records that have been digitized. We index those records and then publish them online. And as part of that arrangement, Ancestry is made available for free in all of the family history centers. So you can access that way. Couple of things to keep in mind. Oh, and libraries. So as a separate thing, Ancestry also has what's called Ancestry Institution, and that is sold to libraries all over the US and I believe in parts of Canada and maybe the UK, but I'm not certain about that. So if you have a public library near you that has purchased Ancestry institutional accounts, you can access it for free in the library as well. The thing you need to know about Family History Center or library access to Ancestry is that all personalization has been stripped out because those are public computers. So we are really serious about privacy. It is one of the pillars of how we do business as a company. And so we want to make sure that your private information is protected. So you can't have a DNA kit or access it on a public account. You can't have your family tree on a public account. What you can do with the public account is access all 60 billion plus of those records on the site. So that's the benefit of library access, is free to you access on a public computer for all of the historical record collections available on Ancestry. Okay, let's see what else you've got. Robert wants to know if the new hire classes are available to you. As a matter of fact, Robert, they are. And let me tell you where to access them. So every Wednesday, just about every Wednesday, we're going to skip the week of RootsTech because we're going to be busy that day. But almost every Wednesday, myself or one of my colleagues, we do an Ancestry virtual event. So it is a 1-hour deep dive class into a very specific topic. And I have taught a class called Ancestry Tree Building 101, and it is an hour-long version of the new employee orientation class that I teach about how to get started building your family tree. Tomorrow, Wednesday, February 12th, 2025, I will be teaching Ancestry DNA 101. And that will be a deep dive into just all the beginning foundational things you need to know in order to use your Ancestry DNA results to continue to make family history discoveries. Those classes and the past recordings of those classes are available in a few places. If you go to ancestry.com/education, ancestry.com/education, you can see at the top of the page there the upcoming dates and times and the topics. You do have to register if you want to attend live. Registration is free, but you do have to register so that we can send you the Zoom link. We do it over Zoom webinar. The live events then are recorded. So if you can't attend live, you can watch the recording. And it usually takes us about 2 to 4 days to make that recording available. You'll see those recordings if you scroll down that same page, ancestry.com/education. You'll see the recordings of some of our past virtual events, and then that's where the recording of the live events will be placed. You can also find those. I keep them in a playlist. If you get overwhelmed, I keep them on a smaller playlist on my personal YouTube channel. So just at Crista Cowan on YouTube. So there you go, Robert. Yes, I teach new hire, new employee, new genealogist classes as often as I can because I want to make sure that new people get started off on the right foot. And for those of you who aren't new to family history, sometimes it's a little bit like going back to the basics and just making sure your foundation is solid so you can keep growing your family tree. Okay. Ramona wants to know, how do I even get started to get information for ancestors from England and Scotland or other related areas? So, great question. Again, what I would do is explore the card catalog on Ancestry to see what records are available. Without some additional details, Ramona, my advice is going to be a little bit generic, but here's what I would recommend. The first thing in the US, in Canada, in England and Wales, in Scotland, the very kind of first foundational record set that I encourage people in any of those countries to view is the census records. In each of those countries, a census was taken once every 10 years. That census gives you kind of a framework or a foundation for the structure of the family, where they were living, approximate ages. And so that's kind of the key, is to like trace your family through those census records. Then you kind of go and fill in the gaps with birth, marriage, and death records. England is a fantastic resource for that. Better than probably anywhere else in the world, because England started keeping birth, marriage, and death records in 1837, and they did it at a countrywide level. Unlike here in the United States, where every state started keeping birth, marriage, and death records at a different time period, some of them not until as late as the 1940s. And they all have different privacy laws regarding the access to those records. So England's got some really great civil registration of births, marriages, and deaths. And then, of course, because there was a state church, they also have really excellent baptism, marriage, and burial records, which often give birth, marriage, and death dates for the country as well. Scotland has similar things. However, the Scottish government controls their records, and so you have to access those through their website, which is Scotland's People. So that is kind of my, without more details about your specific situation, generic advice for UK research. Okay, let's see what else we've got. Some people are asking some questions about Ancestry DNA, so I'll just answer a few of those. Maybe I'll have to do some a deeper dive into some of this Q&A. So if you don't already follow me on Instagram, you can follow me at Crista Cowan. I do have that question box there on my stories today, Tuesday. Of course, it goes away after 24 hours, but I'll keep an eye on that and put one up, every once in a while. And I can answer some of those questions, like really specific questions there. The Ancestry DNA 101 class that's happening tomorrow, the virtual event. Again, go to ancestry.com/education, and you can register for that class. And if you can't show up live, you can watch the recording. And I will answer probably quite a few of these questions about Ancestry DNA in that class. But this specific question being asked by Kimberly has to do with privacy. So she's asking about Ancestry's privacy around DNA. Like I mentioned, privacy is one of the pillars of how we do business, not just because of the DNA, but also because people are building their family trees on Ancestry. We're asking you to give us a lot of really personal information. On the tree side of things, Ancestry automatically privatizes the information of all living people in your tree. So if you give us information about a living person, as long as they are marked as living, you're the only person who can see that information. Nobody else on Ancestry looking at your tree will be able to see any of the names or dates or photos or anything about those people. DNA is privatized a little bit differently. So every time a person takes a DNA test, there is a code on that tube. And you register your kit with Ancestry using that code, and then you mail that kit off to the lab. So Ancestry knows your name and your code, but the lab only knows the code. And so they have no idea who you are or any of your contact information. They process that kit, send that kit, the results back to Ancestry. We associate that with your account and we deliver those results. Those results are all delivered online into your personal account, and anyone who wants to access their DNA match list, that level of information from your DNA results, you You're the only one who can have access to it. And if you even want access to your own results, you have to enable two-factor authentication. So that's like where a text message gets sent to your phone so that you can key in an extra code to keep that account extra secure. Now, you can, of course, share your DNA results with anyone you wish at any time, but you have full control over who gets to see that information and what level of permission you want to give them. So that is kind of how Ancestry controls for privacy, because yes, that is a concern, and we want to make sure that we respect your wishes about how your data is controlled. You can, of course, delete your results at any time and request that all of that information be removed. Okay, let's see. What other questions? Marcy wants to know how somebody becomes a genealogist. Well, that's a really great question. I feel like I should do a whole video on that. So again, if you're not following me, maybe on YouTube, maybe I'll do that as a YouTube video. So the easy answer is lots of training. There are a couple of universities that offer family history degrees as an undergraduate degree. Brigham Young University is one of them. Then there are a few universities that offer family history degrees as a graduate level degree. So if you got your first degree in library science or history or English or whatever, you could try to get into the graduate program. The graduate programs are remote programs, I think both of them are, and so that might work for you wherever you are. So that's the formal education route. I took the less formal education route. In addition to conferences like RootsTech, there are also what are called institutes. So those are week-long intensive courses that you take about a specific topic. So you can learn about how to analyze evidence. You can learn about researching in Germany in the 1800s. You can learn about how to write client reports. Like there's all sorts of different week-long intensive courses that you can take at a couple of different institutes, genealogical institutes. I think there's actually 3 here in the United States every year. So that is kind of the less formal like education route. And then it's just learn as much as you can. I found a mentor when I was a young genealogist. I've had several great mentors through the course of my career, both before Ancestry and here at Ancestry. And then I look to the leaders in the field. People like Elizabeth Schoen Mills and Thomas Jones, and anything that they publish, I'm reading because I want to make sure I understand how their brains work. Because a lot of times, less experienced genealogists think they can solve their brick wall problem if they just found the right record. But more experienced genealogists understand that it's a compilation of direct and indirect and negative evidence that helps us to find the answers that we're looking for in our family trees. So that is kind of my short answer to your question. But like I said, I may have to do a little bit more. Okay, Laura wants to know how many people I have in my family tree. I have 97,000 people in my family tree. But here's why, okay, before you freak out. You have 2 parents and 4 grandparents and 8 great-grandparents and 16 great-great-grandparents and 32 great-great-great-grandparents, right? The number just doubles with every generation. And if you were able to find every single one of those people, which I don't think any of us have, that number would get very big very quickly. However, you are not just related to your parents and your grandparents and your great-grandparents. As much as I love my parents and my grandparents, I also love my siblings and my nephews and the world's only niece and my aunts and uncles and my cousins and my parents' aunts and uncles. I have taken a vacation with one of my dad's aunts and some of my dad's cousins. I adore my dad's cousins. I'm getting to know some of my mom's cousins. Like my family is about more than just me and my parents and my grandparents. And so as I go up a level, every time I go up a level in my family tree, I come back down to the living people. So my tree includes all of my ancestors and as many of their descendants as I've been able to identify. which was a huge boon when I took an Ancestry DNA test and knew already a bunch of the people on the first few pages of those match lists because they were already in my family tree. Now, that number gets really big really fast because I come from really big families. My grandmother was one of 11. My dad's grandparents, his maternal grandparents, one was one of 11, one was one of 12. My great-grandfather on my dad's side, he had 98 first cousins just on his dad's side of the family tree. So really big families. So as I start to add those children and their children and their children and so on, those numbers get big really fast. So that is why I have such a large tree. The number I need to look for, Laura, is how many of my ancestors are in my family tree. I think that would be an interesting exercise. I know, for example, that I have a brick wall at a great-great-grandfather. And so I don't know much about his life prior to the Civil War. And I know nothing about who his parents were. And so that kind of stops my progress on that line and means that as you go back another generation, now I've got two holes, every time it's two more blanks in the family tree. So it would be interesting to look into that. Okay, some of you are making enhancement requests. Some of you are asking about Ancestry Pro Tools. I love that. If you are coming to RootsTech, whether you're coming in person or whether you are registered for the virtual event, I would just encourage you to watch or come see my presentation on Thursday called What's New at Ancestry. Several of the questions about what new features are coming or how certain features might work are going to be answered in that presentation, so you'll want to watch that. And of course, you're invited to follow me on social media. I do share tips and tricks and videos and stories on my podcast on a weekly basis. But for those of you who are coming to RootsTech, I'm excited to see you there. For those of you who are watching virtually, I'll give you a little shout out every day as I do the Facebook Live wrap up over on the Ancestry Facebook page. And until next time, I'm Crista Cowan. Have fun climbing your family tree.